Okay, in the video I just made, I painted a card, and this is the card right here, and I want to show you how I did it. So here it goes. Okay, I'm going to paint a card. This is a card, I ordered some blank cards, and this side is a little smoother. You see less texture. And this side is a little bit more texture, like watercolor paper. And so you can choose either side. I'm going to choose this side. And I'm going to be using gouache paint. These are the paints I'm going to be using. And this is made by the company called Artist's Loft. And that's a very affordable paint, by the way. This is my palette. My paper plate is my palette. And these are my brushes right here. Here's my brushes. So nothing really fancy. And I do have some water here for as a medium, I guess. Because even though I don't wear medium, I wear extra large. But it's a joke. It's a joke. Okay. So what I want to do is a landscape, like a sunrise, okay? So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to find a blue for the sky. I might have to grab from another package because this white is almost gone, but I want to put some white on my palette here because I obviously will be using white. Well, that one's empty. Hold on, I got to get another one. To the rescue. Let's see what we have in this one. Boy, all the whites are gone. All right, let me find another one. This is the problem when you buy small tubes of paint. There's a white. There's a white right there. Okay. So let me put a little white on the paper plate on the palette. And there we go, just a little bit. Whoops. And there's going to be some blue. Let me find some blue. Here's some blue. I'll tell you the exact name after I read it. The white was actually called titanium white. The blue is actually called blue azure or cerulean blue. Oops, sorry. There it is. Hopefully you can see it. There. And I think what I want to do is I want to put some complementary color on the background. Ooh, that looks nasty. All right, there we go. All right, so the complementary color, orange is the opposite of blue, right? So let's put some of this on there. This looks like a yellow ochre. It's sort of orange-ish, but I'm going to add some red to it to make it more orange-ish. And you'll see my method, my madness. This looks good enough. This one is called Vermilion. I'll mix the two together and come up with some kind of a orange-ish color. I don't want to use too much water in this because I purposefully want this to dry quickly. I guess that's good. Oops. I guess that's good enough. Okay. Wow. I'm not that coordinated with painting with a microphone and with the camera, but I'm doing that right now. All right, so I'm just spreading this on. Now, this obviously is the area of the sky, and the question, I do have to use water. It's not working. So I'm going to have to let this dry before I put the next layer on, but I just want to create a complementary color or an opposite color, and that would be that. And down here, there's going to be the green grass, so the opposite of green is red. So I will use something not burnt sienna. I will use this crimson red. Crimson red, and I'm just gonna put it straight onto the paper because I don't see any reason why not. Okay, I think I will use a little bit of water. Just mix this up. Now in the background there's going to be mountains, and this first part doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to really have any defined lines or anything like that. And as you may notice, I do not have a sketch. I didn't do a sketch. Had I been doing something that would require a sketch, I don't think this one will, but I would have used a watercolor pencil, because then the pencil marks themselves would have gone away. Right now, I just want to create a little bit of a U shape right there. And now for the background, I'm going to put, it's a very deep blue, so a very deep yellow I guess would make sense, but I don't have a deep yellow. I guess burnt sienna would be the next best thing to a deep yellow. So I'm going to put this straight onto the card, and I'm going to smear it all over the place. This is going to be some mountains, so let me put a few peaks in there. We're going to have the sun coming up over here somewhere. Okay. Everything has to be a little bit hazy in the distance, so I'll take care of that when we get to it. But to create that illusion, that feel of depth into the picture. Now this area right here is going to be more green when it's finally done, and this is going to be more yellow. So let's add a little bit of that blue into there, just to kind of, again, give some complementary colors to be painting over. If you've ever seen like videos on how like some of the artists of the past have done paintings, they don't all use complementary colors. I also don't use complementary colors all the time, but sometimes it's a nice look. So now I don't know if you can see, but this is the sky, this is the mountain range, this is the grass, the foreground and the distant ground of the grass, and then there will be a sun coming up over there. It's going to be yellow, but I'm going to not put the opposite of the yellow right there. That's where it's going to be. I'm just going to let this dry, and I'll turn off the camera, and I'll be back after it dries. So far, this is what we have. Okay, this is going to be a sunrise, and it shouldn't take that long to dry. All right, now the card, the paint on the card seems to be dry, at least in the sky area. So now is when we start to use the paint colors that we're going to actually paint the painting with. So I have my brushes in the water. Let me clean them out. You have to trust me, I can't turn the camera. But here we go. Now we dry it out. All right, looks pretty good. I don't see any color in there. Okay, now let's begin. Now, what we want to do is we want this to be a sunrise. So we're going to have a little bit of a blue sky. Just like that. Looks good, huh? And we'll just put it up there. Okay. There we go. And we want to take some of that red and make some a different kind of an orange. Maybe I can take the yellow and mix it with the red that's on here. Let's see what we can do here. I'll keep it separated until I'm sure of what I want. And this is the crimson red. That's not a very good yellow, is it? Let me see if that yellow might be better deeper in the tube. That might need to be shaken or something. That looks very brownish to me. There, that looks more like yellow. Okay. So let's use some of that, mix it together. Let me get a clean brush. Okay, now we're going to mix them together until we get an orange-ish color. And we're going to brush this around on the back there. Okay, add some of that blue into it. Yellow and blue. Yellow and red. I hope you can see everything. I might have to move my palette away and just, you have to trust me on this. Okay. So the card ends right, the fold in the card is right there. So everything above there is the back of the card. So I'm not too worried about anything above there. Okay. Okay. Let's push this around, get some of that blue. And that red down here by the sky, by the horizon. Okay, and we're going to paint over. The mountains are going to cover a lot of that sky at the bottom there. And let's pull some of that white and put it right there. Okay, that yellow. We need to add more white. Just put it right on there. It'll work. It'll work. It'll work. Trust me, it'll work. Okay. Let me get a clean brush now. Kind of move that paint around. Just kind of blend it all in. We got that white area. Let's add some more of this. the red and the yellows, put them together. Okay. Get that white smoothed out a bit. Okay. Some of that orange. I'm just dabbing it into the palette over here, the paper plate. Okay, let's take some of that white, just add it to the bottom of this area here. And a little bit up here. Add some yellow to that. Add some yellow to this area. Okay. And now let's get another brush. And let's get a very, 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 very light yellow. So what I want to do is take another, squeeze some more yellow out on here. And then I'm going to put some white right next to it. Because I want it to be, I think I want it to be mostly white, but with a little hint of yellow. And so this is what we have now. Here's my messy palette. I'm going to take this brush, new brush. I'm going to grab the white, just put a little bit of yellow into it. And what I want to do is I just want to put it right here. This is going to be the sun later on when we're done. The sun when we're done. Okay. So maybe some pure white right there, and then start to bring the yellows around it. And maybe even do that glowing effect. And we'll come back and add more to that later. But right now, let's just do this. Let's just smooth it out. Okay. You got some of that white, yellow lighting up the bottom of some of these clouds very lightly. Okay. There, I think that's good. Just add a little bit more of that white and yellow. See what I'm doing here? I'm just taking a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. Just putting it in there. Just making it like that. Now let's take some of this red and yellow. Red and blue, I'm sorry. Red and blue. Make some very, very dark areas and over here. Just give the illusion of some shaded clouds. Okay. Okay. And the only thing I think I want to do still is add a little bit more of this red here that I started with at the beginning, and put a little yellow into it. I took some yellow. I'm going to mix it together And I want it to have a little bit of a red feel to it. So I'm going to put that right there. So the sky has that. Now see, my light is reflecting. It's making it hard for you to see it. You're at a different angle than I am. It's having a hard time for me to see it, to be honest with you. Let me move the light. That's a little better. Okay. Just get a little bit of water on there, I think. Just to smooth it out. Okay. Fresh brush just to get that pure white again. 'Cause I messed up a bit here. Okay. All right, now here's my palette so far. Now I have to clean my brushes so I can start over with the next layer, which is going to be the mountains. So let me put this over here. Now you can see I got very dirty water, very painted water. Gotta clean all the brushes. And let me get the paper towel out. Dry the brushes. Oops, that brush fell apart. Look at that. Trying to clean the brushes as good as I can. One more brush. Okay. The brushes are clean, and in the meantime, the paint should be almost dry. All right, now what we want to do, we have some color on here we can use. So let's make some mountains out of that color. Okay. Just paint those mountains in. They don't have to be perfect. Probably should add some white to them. Yeah, make them kind of a little bit hazy in the background. Make a little peak here. Okay. A little bit of water in there. There we go. Okay, that's one layer of mountain. Okay, now let's put a little bit darker layer right over it. Sort of a distant hill look. Okay. And then the very, very darkest areas be right up front here. That's not, I have to make it darker a different way. Okay. Okay, now let's take one of these brushes and go back to that white. And that yellow. This is what I'm doing. I'm taking the white and the yellow. And I'm gonna drag it to a couple places here. That's a little bit too much. So the white and the yellow is making its way to the distance. Let me get the brush dry a little bit. There we go. All right, let me drag some of that over. All right, put some more white in the middle there. Just trying to get it on everything. A little bit yellow over there. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Now what we want to do is we want to add some green, some very, very, very dark green. Green is an interesting color because it's so powerful. It'll do so much. So I'm going to take this green, and it's called Viridian. Oops. It's called Viridian. And I'm going to mix it with this mess I have here. So I'll kind of make it long one, so I have a couple different shades of green to play with. But I want it all to be dark. I want it all to be dark. So this is what I'm doing. I'm taking that green, and I am just going to make a mess on here. Just try to establish where the grass is going to be. Okay, so I'm doing a mixture of green from here with the blue and green from here. That's just green. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. Okay, and this is gouache. It dries quickly, and it dries a little bit on the chalky side. But it's a really nice paint to use for like doing these cards. I don't know why, I just like it. So, okay, so we're just we're kind of being messy and on purpose. It's kind of my middle name anyway. Messy, Larry Messy. Larry Messy. Make it my last name. Okay, so I'm going to try to cover all that under painting. However, it's not really covering it all. You see some of that stuff is still showing through, some of that red, and that's what I wanted. That's why I put it down there in the first place. Okay, so now we have what I think are the foreground areas. The grass growing from here, coming down here, and coming up here. Okay, now what I want to do is make it darker in some areas. So rather than black, I'm going to use purple. And there it is, purple, easy enough. And I'm going to mix it with the green. So you can see it. Can you see it? Okay, and that's going to give me my darker areas, which is what I want. I want my darker areas to be darker. Okay, so I've taken the two together, and let's see, I put a couple, whoops, that's way too light. Okay, some right here, some right there, definitely in the foreground. Up here. Okay, over here. Okay, there we go. There. Okay, now what we want to do is now we have to have a yellow green. So we have that green, and we have hold on, let me show you. We got that green and we got that yellow. What I need is a new brush. So let's take this green and mix it with this yellow over here and make a very, very yellow green. And there we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to form the edges of some hills here. Okay. Just to define them a little bit more. Okay, so I got the yellow and the green, And I'm making it yellow-greenish. And I'm putting it over here. I think I got some over here I can use. Okay. Some over here. Yellow and green. That's a little bit too green. Too yellow. Let's add some green to it. Add some purple to it. Cut back on it a little bit. Okay. Add some purple to that. Cut back on it. It's a little bit too green. Okay. Let's try to blend it together now. A little bit. All right, I'm going to have to use my hand on here to hold it back a little bit. Now that sun is coming up behind the mountains, and this grass is just waiting for that sunlight to hit it because it loves the sun. All the plants love the sun. They follow it all day long, and they wait for it all night long. Okay? Oh. Right now, what I want to do is I want to get a brush that's really a mess. Does that brush look a mess? Not too bad. I want a brush that's really a mess, like an old brush. Whoops, that must be old. It fell off. I don't think that'll work though. That might work. Where'd that fall off from? Oh, right there. Well, that's really not a mess. This one looks more of a mess, a little bit. How about one of these guys? That looks a mess. Oh yeah, that's a mess. All right, so let's take the messy brush and let's take this area here and let's go for the gusto. Let's go for the gusto. I'm going to just dab the messy hairs into the yellow a little bit. Can you see it? A little bit of yellow in there. Okay. And what we want to do, we want to make some messy lines. Okay. Okay, with some over here. This is where the sunlight is hitting some of these pieces of grass. Yeah, I'm not quite happy with the way that's looking. I'm going to have to get a different messy brush. Maybe the trick would be to get a very small brush. There's a tiny brush right there. Let's get that yellow and bring it up around these places that are getting hit by the sunlight. I have to get some really messy brushes in a little bit, but let me just add some of these yellow layers. I think that's a good way to get started here, to show you what I'm trying to do. Okay, you get the idea of what I'm trying to do, right? To create little peaks and valleys in the hills here in the foreground, so that they have that look of sun hitting them. Right into that. Just add a little bit into it, because that orange light also makes it to the ground, you know. Some of that orange light, especially in the back here. Okay, let's bring some over here. Now I think what we need to do, let's put some more of that purple back in there. Some of those areas over here, kind of deepen the colors right there. All right, now I think it's time to get something that really, really, really can make the look of grass. Now, what could I possibly use? I got more brushes here, so I'm going to look for a messy one. A really messy one. Let's see if I got a really old brush that'll serve as my messy brush. If not, then I'll have to use a tiny, tiny, tiny brush and just do lots of grass, like one stroke at a time. Oh, that one might work. That's not that messy. See, I'm looking for one that will spread out a lot. How about the fan brush? That might work. What do you think about that one? Okay, let me use the fan brush. Here's the fan brush. It's really not that messy. And I wish it was. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to take those yellows that I have over here, and I'm just going to go to town with them. Oh, need more yellow. So I want to put the yellow directly onto the brush, I think. I'm just going to put it all over it. There we go. All right, let's just make some. There we go. It's starting to look a little bit like grass, huh? Okay. Okay, I'm gonna leave that like that because I'm going to add to it so I can get rid of that really, really brushy look. But that's kind of what I wanted, and you can sort of see where I'm going with this. I'll add a little bit more yellow to the palette. And I'm going to add that purple to the green. And I'm going to just kind of touch it up now. Okay. This is very... Take some of these yellows. Okay, let's take some of those. Let's take some of the yellow, mix it with some of that red, if it's still wet. And what we want to do is like a hint of an orange. Yeah, maybe like that. Okay. Let's get back to the foreground. Let's get some of these darker areas back in there. Just to create the illusion of oh boy. Okay. let me reset my computer because my monitor went off. I'm trying to watch what I'm doing so I see what you see. So give me a second and push that button. Oh, it's asking for my fingerprint. There's my fingerprint. Now it's happy. Okay. 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 Now, I think what I want to do is touch it up a little bit. This area of this mountain right here needs a little bit more definition. I think. Okay. And now let's try. I don't know what to try. I'm kind of at a blank here. So I feel like this grass could be better. So let me keep working it. When you do work on a digital platform, you can do layers. And so this is really the same as doing that. The difference is once you put these layers on, you can't remove them. You can paint over them, but you can't remove them. Well, you can't experiment as much as you can with digital. With digital, you can say, do I like it this way or that way? And then you pick one. This way, you kind of have to decide. And of course, this is how we all started, most of us. Okay, now, I think all I really want to do is add some light yellow. So I'm going to put some yellow on the paper plate. And I'm going to add some white to that. Okay. I'll put it next to it. And then I'll add it as I need it. It's kind of my way of doing things. And I think a little bit of one of the reds. Let's see. How about this one? It's a little bit on the vermilion. It's a little bit on the orange side already. And that's kind of really what I want. So I'm going to put that next to it. So that we have that. And what I want to do with the white and the red, the white and the yellow, is I want to create some tiny little wisps of grass. Just to get the illusion of grass in the foreground. Just take this little brush. The messy brushes weren't working as I wanted them to work, so I think it's better to use this little tiny brush. It seems to be working. I'll put some of these little wisps of grass. Some of these wisps of grass are yellow, some are white, some are kind of a mixture of the two. So this would be a good sunrise picture for maybe Easter Sunday, or just a springtime card or something, or just a card for no reason at all. Just to send somebody a nice card that you hand painted. If you're going to try to exactly copy this, you would probably have a hard time. So don't worry about exact copying it. What maybe you should focus on more is to use the techniques to create your own. And it can be similar, but it doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to kick yourself around just because you don't get it exact. I never get anything exact anyway, so it's probably the same thing for you. Lots of little wisps of grass. And there's nowhere near as many as there would be in an actual field. This is all just to create the illusion of looking out into the mountains while you're standing in a grassy field, and the sun is coming up over the edge of the mountain, and it's lighting the grass in such a way that just it makes you feel good. That a new day is beginning and a new opportunity to do something good, to make the world a little bit better. Let me look at this now and see if I like it. See if I want to call it done. I think I could improve that sun area a little bit. Let me add some more white to that sun area. Yeah. Let me drag some of that across the picture a little bit. See if I can do that again. Don't want to mess it up too much. Maybe one more time. Two more times. All right, and you know what? I think I really do need to put some more purple back. Some purple and green. So the purple and green is still pretty wet. I can still use them. And you know what I probably could do to make it a little bit better? I probably could do the same technique with that small brush and put some of the darker tones in there. So let me do that. Let me just take some of those darker tones and do them. Because they clearly would be there. You would have some that are in the shadows. Yeah, they wouldn't all be lit. Okay, I think we're going to call that done. And here, how do I do it? Like that. So that's the card. That's the finished card, and it looks like a sunrise, I guess. I'm not too happy with one part of it though. I'm not too happy with some of these areas here. Let me see if I can blur them out a little bit. Just smear them before they get completely dry. A little too stark, maybe. Okay. Okay. Here's the sunrise card. Alright, thank you for watching. I will talk to you later. I'll put the card on the pixel site. Bye.